Hi, I'm Kathleen.
I'm Steve.
I'm Hillary.
And you're watching Word of Mouth.
Pilgrim made some progress and was pleased he'd gone forth.
I done broke my chains and escaped to the north.
He was gonna meet his destiny before he met his maker, yeah.
King James Baldwin, Queen Josephine Baker.
They placed his chair when they stepped out of line.
Oh, they own Paris and Amsterdam's gonna be mine.
He was born again, see the real was at hand.
Oh, hallelujah, I'm standing on the promised land.
We saw Passing Strange, which is a rock and roll musical. It's a semi-autobiographical story based on the life of the musician Stu. He plays the narrator, so he's narrating a portion of his life when he was in his early 20s.
It was a coming-of-age story about a young middle-class black man who lived in LA and was trying to find himself and was trying to find what was the real, what was the true him.
Having two boys of my own who went through the teenage years, teenagers are like alien beings, like aliens have taken over their body and they're really not human anymore. And this is exactly what happened to this young man.
He decides he wants to travel to Europe because everybody knows that in America there's no way you can be yourself. So he goes first to Amsterdam, which of course going from South Central LA to Amsterdam, he takes full advantage of the vice and the all of the activities that are available and legal in Amsterdam.
He gets bored there and he decides to go to Berlin, where he gets involved with some more outrageous characters. All in all, everybody thinks that they are real. He's looking for the realness in him and everybody else, and I think he realizes at the end that all of it was not real, and so he comes back home.
The characters are all black. I think that that's wonderful to see that on Broadway for a change, but I think that it has a very, very broad universal appeal. All the topics are something that each of us go through as we're growing up.
I thought Daniel Breaker was really good. He was able to show with just expressions on his face and body language that sort of struggle that he was going through.
He has a beautiful voice. He danced well. He played the guitar. He had tremendous facial expressions. He was a terrific actor. His teenage blank stare early on in the show was priceless.
Stu I didn't know his work before this. I know that he's really popular kind of at Joe's Pub and some other venues in the city, and he has quite a cult following. I wasn't familiar with his work until I saw Passing Strange. And he's very, very good. I mean, the play has these very funny moments. His music is great. His acting is really wonderful, too.
Very talented guitarist, talented vocalist, and obviously talented songwriter.
It's a different kind of play. Everything is right there. There's no scenery to speak of. It's just lights. And the scenery are the actors and the musicians. That's the whole thing. And everybody is there just about throughout the show.
The lighting is very rock and roll. I mean, it's minimalist, but there's a lot of neon and fluorescent lighting that kind of really underscores what's going on stage.
The music is powerful. There's some ballads in it, but most of it is harder rock and roll. Picture Spring Awakening on acid a little bit, and that's what you have here in the music.
It's not for the person who's looking for the traditional musical. And at one point, in fact, they sort of did a satire on what a typical musical number would be in that situation, which I thought was very funny, and it was, showing that it wasn't the traditional musical.
If you like that kind of music, and I do, I'm from the 60s, so I like rock and roll. It keeps everything together.
I also found his language very beautiful. The language that he used to talk to the audience about the characters and the language that he used in the songs was unusual use of language and very beautiful use of language.
It's a good show, it stands on its own, but I think also it's a show that might not get the attention that it deserves because it's so not a traditional musical. I think it's great for mature teenagers, certainly people in their 20s, you know, you'll relate like instantly to all of the different themes. And it's great for even people, you know, my age and older who are kind of looking back and kind of taking note of how far you've come.
In a lot of ways, it spoke to me about who I was as someone who was a teenager and in my early 20s, and now how I see myself and the things that I thought. And also, I can see somewhat of my daughter, who is in her middle 20s, and what's important to her, and knowing that at that age, those things were important to me too, but you sort of evolve, hopefully, as you get older.
This is a rock and roll show. It's strong and powerful music. There's some language in it, which may be a problem for young people, but all in all, it's something that I would recommend highly to a fairly broad audience.
I thought it was really, really well done. I recommend it.
Well, I guess no one ever made him feel as real as when she mended him by lending him her keys and said, "Welcome to Amsterdam, welcome to Amsterdam, welcome to Amsterdam." She said, "Yeah, it might look like Sodom from top to bottom, a shopping mall of ice, but this is all right with me.